Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl. Hey, Serial Squad.
Hey, Serial Squad. Gossip
I've
Queen.
officially... Gossip Queens? No, like, I'm making this a thing. This
I'm
is the
game.
Serial Squad.
I'm game.
But yeah, no, this, man, the spoiler-free episode, if you listen to that, what an episode. I mean...
Felt good.
Just
Felt
good. So good.
I was so chuffed after that recording earlier. I literally ran out of the room and I was like, I'm so stoked right now. That was just so good. We were vibing. It was good.
We were vibing. I love any book, film, anything where it's like you get a whiplash of emotions.
Oh,
right? Like just day and night.
oh my God, what a hilarious pairing of chapters we put together this week. Just like
so
dark devastation, painful, death, and then frolicking through a glen, having some like sexy checking out moments with also like a little turn of like, learning about Lucian and all that stuff. Yeah, what a collection we did this week. And honestly, two of like my favorite chapters.
Yeah.
And like we're pretty close to midway point of this book.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, how exciting. Look at us.
Next week is Calamai, guys.
Next week is Calamai, you guys. Well, what's funny, too, is we're only going to do half.
Yeah.
So we're literally going to finish. Next week, we'll end
with
meeting Rizz. Because we're just the worst, but the best. That's why we say you're welcome and we're sorry. Because, here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're basically halfway through the book.
Yeah.
Or almost. And like these two chapters are a really big turning point for Tamlin and Feyre. Chapter 17 with like the wounded faerie. I don't really care how you feel about Tamlin.
Yeah.
I have my own issues with Tamlin. There is no way you hate Tamlin in this chapter.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. I love how he handles this whole thing. Like I really do. I don't believe that Tamlin is this great manipulator. I don't believe that. I never have, to be honest. No. I never have. I just believe that Tamlin has been blind and doesn't see things that are right in front of his face.
It's actually the lack of foresight, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what the bad parts of Tamlin, like that's what makes it bad, right? Is he does not have foresight.
100%. And so you can feel his pain in this chapter because he knows he is responsible for the death of this faerie, and he doesn't have his full powers because of the curse, because of all of these things. He can't save the faerie because his powers are gone. The faerie is killed. Amarantha kills him, right? That is the she that we talk about in this episode. In this chapter, in this episode of Feyre's life. It's like we all know it's Amarantha, and it just is so. You feel his pain, man. It's so painful and it sucks. And like, I think that's a big reason why he buries the faerie by himself.
Yeah.
He feels all the responsibility. I think he has a ton of shame going into
much shame.
All of this. And I think, yes, Tamlin knows that he should be trying to court Feyre. He like decides that he actually wants to court her after this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he has to try too hard after this because she shows a side of compassion that he's clearly not really seen much of.
No. Something, I don't know what it was about the way you phrased it, but there's something I just realized, I think, about Tamlin in terms of like the guilt he has with this faerie and just in general, like the issue of Amarantha and the curse. And because like I think what's going on in his head with this faerie is I could have stopped this if I just married her, right?
Yeah.
And I think what that made me realize is this is a real, I think like he's constantly doing the the trolley problem in his head. Are you familiar with the philosophical trolley problem?
No.
So it's I forgot who came up with it, but it's a whole thing in philosophy. You've definitely heard it before. Where imagine a trolley, right, going
Mm-hmm.
down a track,
Mm-hmm.
and it can split off into one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you are standing there with your hand on the lever, deciding which way it's going to split off into. One way, one person, the person you love the most in this world, is tied to the track. The other way is like five complete strangers. So more
Right.
people will die, or one person that you love will
Yeah.
die. And the question is, which are you going to choose?
Which are you
I
gonna
think
choose?
that's what's
Wow.
going on in his head constantly.
Totally.
He is constantly dealing with the trolley problem.
Wow. I think that's a great. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Give me a second to get my brain to wrap around that one. But no, I think you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Because yeah, I completely agree. I do think that's exactly what he's going through this whole time. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when he's sending his friends off to die,
Yeah. Yep.
right? But yeah, I think that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think this chapter, the weight and the sorrow that we see from him is just absolutely insane. Like,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because the chapter starts off right with Feyre having this dream
Oh, I want to talk about the stream.
that is 1,000% about Amarantha. Absolutely is in there. She's the faceless woman dragging her blood red nails across, splitting open bit by bit. It's 100% Amarantha.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I remember that she was having dreams about Amarantha. I didn't
Yes.
quite remember that it happened in this chapter. And one of the things that I love is that you get this faceless woman in this dream.
Yeah.
And then you have this fairy coming in screaming about a she. So then you get a nameless woman. And it
Yes.
was really fun because I was like, oh yeah, you get a faceless and then a nameless. Like,
Yeah.
mm, same person? Absolutely the same person. But like
Oh, yeah.
it's interesting how early Sarah J. Maas gives you that little
Hint.
hint. Exactly. She gives you this little clue very early that like these are the same person.
Yes.
And I just think I think that's like very cool.
I realized something because we were talking a little bit about it after recording the first part of the episode.
Yep.
And I realized something
What?
because I was thinking, I'm like, why? Like, how is it possible she's having dreams of Amarantha if she's never seen Amarantha?
Mm-hmm.
Rhys.
Oh my God.
It's what Rhys is seeing because we
It's
already know because of Mist and Fury, he's already, and because of one of the last chapters where she has his dream about the wolf and he's in the shadows behind her, blah blah blah. We know that he can kind of like, I wouldn't say feed her things in her dreams,
like
but like,
project, I would say.
yeah, they're kind of both weirdly seeing, not quite through each other's eyes, but sort of in a weird way. It's like hard to explain. It's
Yeah.
like a third man type of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if that's how she is able to dream of Amarantha is because of Rhys.
Yes. So maybe it's Rhys who is like
Yes.
supplying this imagery.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's totally not only possible, but I think that's what's happening.
I really hope we find out.
I know. I don't know if we find out, but I think it's implied because like when, he talks, gives the whole
Yeah.
spiel in Mist and Fury at the cabin, like
Yep.
we find out that's why she painted the dresser, her drawer with
Yeah.
the knight and all that. Like I think that's what's implied. So
What I love is that there's gonna be some ACOTAR girlies listening to this, and they're gonna be like screaming at us.
I know.
No, we blah, 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 blah. Like who's someone who knows the answer to what we're saying.
Oh
There's-
yeah. And as someone who's been in that position listening to podcasts, I'm so sorry to the folks who are screaming right now.
But it also is it actually is like kind of like a funny small side discussion about like the things we remember from stories and like what have you. Cause like
Yeah.
I've read these books so many times and I don't remember.
Yeah. One thing I did want to point out before we move on from the stream, though, is assuming she's able to dream about Amarantha because of Rhys. One thing that's like, I mean, I know it's probably for the purpose of like, the narrative purpose of not knowing who Amarantha is yet, but her being faceless, if this is from Rhys's perspective, that's actually like really fucking sad because of like all the trauma he endures.
Totally.
With Amarantha.
Totally.
Like, I think that speaks volumes of like, if that's his perspective, it's like he can't even like understandably see her really as a person
Yeah.
because she's fucking not. She's a monster.
Yeah.
Like, oof.
That is pretty brutal. Like
Yeah.
if that's what's happening here, that's like that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's very rough. Or it's like the idea of he can't look at her
Yeah. Yeah.
because like
Ugh.
she's such a representation of shame and pain and sorrow.
Yep.
Just, another light conversation on this Friday afternoon.
Well, I was gonna say maybe to actually lighten it up a little bit. So, because again, very heavy chapter.
Very heavy
I think,
chapter.
I don't have a lot to say about it that because we already talked about it a ton in the spoiler free half, which, again, if if you're listening to this episode, you've read ACOTAR before, but we really encourage you to listen to our spoiler free episodes because that's where we really go in depth about like those specific chapters. So
Yeah.
if you want the in-depth stuff, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
One silly
Yeah,
note.
I'm really
I think.
curious about what are you about to go into here?
The description of the fairy.
Yeah.
So on page 149, this fairy from the summer court who, if you're forgetting, what the chapter is, it's this is the fairy who Tamlin brings in, whose wings have been chopped off bit by bit by Amarantha and then proceeds to die. And it's super fucking sad.
So brutal.
So fucking brutal. So this fairy is described as, quote, another species of lesser fairies with his blue skin, gangly limbs, pointed ears, and long onyx hair. And the first image that popped into mind was the fucking aliens from Avatar.
Oh my god.
And I can't unsee it now. And I hate that. It's verbatim Sans wings, which this guy
Yeah.
doesn't have wings anymore. It's the fucking Navi, I think is what they're
Yeah.
called.
You guys.
It's the Navi from Avatar.
Never.
I'm so sorry, everyone. Like, if I have to suffer through it, you do too.
Of all the places I thought she was going,
Where did you think I was going?
I don't know, bro. I thought you were gonna do some like Ariel shit where you're gonna be like, it kind of sounds like a fairy that we get a small description of in a court of blah blah blah, and we see on the
No.
corner of Valeris and. But I thought I was gonna get some like crazy deep dive shit. Like, no, they look
No.
they look like the Navi from Avatar.
The ones that fuck with their hair.
Well, cool. That's how
Yeah.
I'll ever imagine them now. Although, what's kind of dope then, now I imagine, how they ride those, what are they called? The rooks
yeah.
or something? Now I imagine those wings.
They're kind of like pterodactyls, sort of.
Oh, yeah. But we imagine it's probably more like butterfly type wings. But I really like now thinking if we just combine those two creatures.
Yeah.
So it's like the body
Wow.
of the Navi and then like the wings of like the things that they would ride. That's a pretty
my
epic
God.
looking creature, actually.
I will say this is like changing a lot. Maybe not a lot, but like a bit about how like I imagine, especially in the next book, the Summer Court, because like
Yeah.
I think I'm not gonna lie, with the exception of the Adder, I kind of like the rest of the series. I just picture human-looking Fae,
Humanoids,
to be honest.
100%.
The Adder and the Surreal, obviously, but like maybe I'm wrong. They don't really talk about any other.
No,
looking
so like
Fae.
the only time we really get a lot of descriptions of other looking creatures besides like high fae
Yeah,
is when we do the tithe.
right. The Wraiths.
So, but the wraiths and like I don't think they're the only non-humanoid looking. Like I think there's another description. And then Valeris. When we're in Valeris, we get descriptions of other creatures of like because Feyre talks about how it's like it's the most melting pot she's really ever like seen.
Right.
Which by the time she's actually like shown Valeris, how many places has she really actually been in Prythian?
Exactly.
Yeah. But besides like under the mountain and like the spring court and then the moon palace, like what other places has she? But like we get a lot of descriptions of like tall creatures, shorter creatures, scaly creatures, like antennas, wings, like we get scales, like we get that kind of stuff. And when she's in the summer court, we're really only ever, although no, she does walk around the town. We don't really get descriptions of what the beings look like around her.
That's the thing. Or if we do, it's so brief. It's not anyone of like it's all background.
Exactly.
Actors.
It's nothing of note, I think.
Yeah. Like I think in my head I'm just like, oh well, all the main characters look human
humanoid.
with pointy
Yeah.
ears.
Yeah.
So like I just picture everyone that way. So even like reading about like remembering the puka and the
Yeah.
naga, I'm like, oh right, there's like some interesting looking fae
Yeah.
in Prithian, and I just always forget. So like this was because again, like I knew we were gonna read this chapter,
Yeah.
obviously. I knew what was coming. And so when it's described as like blue and like basically looking like the Navi, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally
Forgot.
forgot.
When you think of the summer court, you think of
I think of
Santorini.
Santorini. Yeah. And like just like very like blue and white. And so like just beautiful the turquoise water,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so like this fairy being blue makes so much
Yeah,
sense to
like
me. Like
matches the aesthetic. The blueness from the summer court, like I don't know. Yeah, I think it's very beautiful. Like, and
yeah.
also I don't know, I get like an image of this like fairy like like sunning their wings,
Yeah.
you know. And actually
Playing playing fucking the blue song on their like speakers. Like Maddie na 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 na.
and they have like 10 other blue people come over and start dancing.
I love how serious the last episode was with this chapter, and this is like Avatar fucking blue song.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like
We have to.
most of us like we've gone through the pain of this chapter. Like
Yeah.
we understand, we remember. But the one thing actually that I kind of want to actually I'm going to bring us down a little bit here
Yeah.
is I realize, I don't think there's anything to be mad at Tamlin about in this chapter, and
No.
I actually think I might be a little bit wrong
Oh.
because she took his wings.
Mhm.
Amarantha took the fairy's wings.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Doesn't Tamlin take
Reese's
Reese's
mother and
mom's
sister. Yeah.
wings
Yeah.
and his sister's wings?
Yep.
Is it Tamlin or is it his dad?
That's a great question, and I don't know if it ever gets answered. I'm going to assume it's his dad who does it. I
Me
don't
too.
think Tamlin wanted to take their wings and behead them.
Oh no, I don't think Tamlin wanted to do that either. No. I
still
I
did it.
completely agree with that. I think Tamlin and Reese both got stuck under their father's thumbs.
Yes. Now,
So
he
like
still made a choice to do it. Like, let's not forget that. But I don't think he wanted to do it. And I think that is important. Now, he still kept the wings, from what
Yeah.
I remember.
Yes.
And that, again, is a choice.
Yeah, because that becomes a whole thing when Feyre's the spy. She's looking
Yes.
for the wings. She's trying to find them.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
we find out that like Tamlin had already burned them or something,
Oh, yeah.
which is like brutal
Yeah.
because she
But-
wanted to return them. But I also think he was doing it in like a
Yeah, in a reverent sort of
reverent way, actually.
Yeah. Because, yeah, it like...
Because his
I
dad
don't
used to
know if-
display them.
Yes, he
Yeah.
had them pinned.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there really is a world where Tamlin could have safely given them back to Reese.
Yeah, I don't know how that
I mean,
would
I
have
guess
happened.
he could have sent Lucian, but then there gets into the like, would Lucian come back? Like,
Yeah, I don't-
would Lucian kill
I mean,
them?
I think there probably could have been a way, but I feel like once Amarantha and Under the Mountain, once that all happens, I don't really see how. I think
Right.
the window would have been before Under the Mountain,
Yes.
and then I feel like once Under the Mountain happens, it's like, how does Tamlin like? How does he navigate that? That's like,
I mean, to be honest, and this is where it gets tricky with Tamlin. I'm not gonna say he necessarily wanted to give them back because, Reese did kill his family too.
Yeah.
And he's allowed to have feelings about that.
Yeah.
But also, like, my guy, Reese killed your family because you killed his in a very brutal way.
Very brutal. So that got brought up to me when the fairy is like, she took my wings, and then like when I was reading it again, I was like, didn't Tamlin help take someone's wings?
Yep.
Like, which I actually think plays into the extra guilt he has during this whole thing.
I would agree.
There's no way he's not thinking about Reese's family when this whole
Yep.
situation is going down.
I think on a similar note, I wanted to talk about is when he decides to bury the fairy alone and not allow Feyre. I definitely think it's a whole burden of responsibility thing, like we talked about in the spoiler-free episode of like this is kind of my fault in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he kind of believes that he doesn't deserve help.
Yeah.
Like, I think Tamlin's the type of person where even though he will oftentimes double down on his bullshit, right?
Yeah.
In hindsight, he does recognize it's bullshit, right? But in this way where it's like he hasn't taken responsibility for it yet. I think it's because of the shame of it. I think that's
Yeah.
why he stays in wolf form. Part of the reason why we have some theories on it, if that's really Tamlin or not.
Yeah.
Um, but if it is Tamlin, I think it's part of the reason he stays in wolf form for like basically 2 books, right?
Yeah.
Or at the very least, that he fucking goes feral in the Spring Court after
Yeah.
Feyre destroys it.
Yeah.
I think that it's that thing of he has done so much damage that in order to like fully face it head on, he has to deal with the shame. And I don't think he's at a point yet of being capable of doing that. But he recognizes it's there.
Mm.
And instead of coping with it and healing and making amends with the people he needs to make amends with, I think instead he punishes himself,
Yeah.
which is what makes it so tragic. And it's like, that's not the best. It's not an excuse at all. It's to say he's doing further damage,
Yeah.
actually.
I completely agree. I think you make a
Yeah.
really, really good point, because also it feels very on brand for Tamlin.
Yeah.
Like Tamlin feels like he's going to be that guy
Yeah.
who thinks the best thing to do is to punish himself
Yep.
and then not realize that that's actually the worst thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that literally, that feels like Tamlin in a fucking nutshell. He thinks the way to keep her safe and happy is to lock
Yeah.
her inside the palace, because that
Yes.
seems like a good idea. Like that feels
Yes.
very on brand for a person who's just gonna like punish themselves. Like it honestly, it's starting to like, I honestly feel like Tamlin would be the guy who would like whip himself. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he just feels like that person, because he
Yep.
just does not, he was never given an example of how to navigate. And his only like, Rizz at least had his mom, right?
Okay. You hit on something I was about. Oh,
Sorry.
I think no. I'm glad you brought it up. I think Tamlin is an example of like how the patriarchy harms men too.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I'm pretty sure they talk about how like because I know Reese talks about how his parents were mates, but they
No.
really weren't meant for each other.
Yeah.
But I think there was like a similar situation with Tamlin's parents where like
I
I don't know if they
don't.
were mates, but like they definitely seem to be like a political
Yeah,
marriage of
I feel
sorts.
I don't have a great memory about it. I think if anything, we'll probably learn about it like right before the wedding, maybe, or after the
Yeah.
wedding or something, because
I, yeah.
but I think you're right. Like I feel like it was a political thing, because I feel like we get something from Tamlin where he's kind of like, like we're a love match. Like it's
Right.
unheard. Like there's something, I'm pretty sure there. Like I don't, but
Yes.
I'm not 100% on that.
From what I remember, Tamlin's mother was not as present as Reese's
Yes,
mother
that I
in his
do.
life.
That I do. Yes, it feels like it was really just his dad.
Yes, and I think that is the difference.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference between those two men. Is Reese really was raised by his mother, and I think
Yes.
that's what saved him from becoming like his father.
Yeah.
Is his mom shielded him, and not only him. I mean, like she took in Cassian and Az,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like, God, I have like such a special place in my heart for Reese's
I
mom.
know.
Like,
Seriously.
she's so wonderful.
Seriously.
Whereas Tamlin was kind of left to his own devices and like had to just kind of follow his father. And I think whether intentionally or not, and I'm inclined to think intentionally, I think this is Sarah J. Maas kind of talking about like this is how the patriarchy harms men too,
Yeah, it's the
right?
toxic masculinity idea of
Yeah,
like he's clearly not really. I mean, it's like I brought up in the last episode, this like surprise they all have of Feyre's compassion. Of
yeah,
course, Lucian's surprised by it. His dad is fucking awful,
yep,
and then Tamlin with the dad that he had. Like, I just think, yeah, like a lot of they're so shocked by her compassion and her ability to look past what this fairy looked like, what this fairy would have maybe
yep,
done to her at a normal time. Like, they're also
yeah,
shocked. Lucian's so shocked that her first thing she did was to save the cereal before herself. Like, they're all so
yeah,
surprised by this compassion. And these are two men who were brought up by extremely toxic males.
yeah,
You're totally right. This is a really good example of how it can hurt men, because I think, like we've talked about before, we actually do feel like deep down Tamlin is like a good male.
Yes.
He just makes really bad decisions and doesn't seem to understand why he has why some of the consequences come at him in a particular way.
Yes.
Yeah, we said early on in this season that we don't believe he's a villain. Like we have
Yeah.
that whole section where we're like, meh.
Yeah.
And in fact, in these spoiler episodes, we're actually being so much nicer to Tamlin than I thought we were going to when we
It has
first
been the
started this
shock of my
pod.
life.
Dude, I'm so surprised. Like
Yeah.
we are being so much nicer than I thought we were going to. And I
Yeah.
think it's just because again, the magic trick that is this book is that it would be so easy to just hate him.
Yes.
But that's not
Yeah.
the situation.
No.
And I think that's also why there are a lot of people who didn't understand why it was so difficult for Feyre to say goodbye to Tamlin. And it's
Yeah.
what? Of course it was hard.
Yeah.
He represents the first of so many things for her.
I think part of the reason, and I'm certainly speaking for myself, but I think a lot of people probably relate to this. I think the reason Tamlin and we all get so we all dogpile on
Yeah.
Tamlin, understandably, is I think we all know a Tamlin,
Yes.
right? Like we all know a person, male or otherwise, but usually male.
Yeah.
Who is like this. And again, it's because it's so seeped into the patriarchy, right?
Yeah.
Like shove down your feelings, do not admit that you're wrong, do not show your feelings, just double down, right? Like that's what Tamlin does.
Yeah.
Right? And it is all a product of toxic masculinity, patriarchy.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, Prithian starts to change for the better when we get a high lady.
Huh.
And when the Valkyrie
Yeah.
resurge.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thunk?
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thunk?
So
all of a sudden the High Lords are like, maybe gonna try to work together?
Huh, what a concept.
What an idea. Such a thing a woman would do, honestly.
I know, right? But I think all this to say to the people out there, look right in the camera, to the people out there who hate Tamlin, understandably so, and are having some feelings about this conversation. What I'm going to encourage is think about if you have a Tamlin in your life or multiple Tamlins, and think about how healing it might be to see this other side, right? And it doesn't mean you have to forgive your Tamlin.
No, absolutely not.
There are certainly many, many circumstances where you should not forgive your Tamlin.
No, this does not mean you have to forgive your Tamlin at all.
No. But understanding where Tamlinness comes from, I think can be a really healing thing because it's not an excuse, it's a explanation.
Yeah, and I think what it does too is it takes away you really having any fault in the scenario.
Yes. And
right?
I would even say I think that's when Feyre heals.
Yes.
In Frost and Starlight is when she realizes there is nothing I could fucking do.
There's nothing.
Nothing.
And we're saying this while not excusing any of the things that Tamlin does to Feyre in the next book. Like, we're not excusing any of that. There's just, I think, a power and understanding.
Yeah.
And understanding the differences of, evil.
Yeah.
Hybern is evil. Amarantha is evil.
Yes.
Tamlin makes a lot of really bad choices.
He's complicated.
But, again, I think Tamlin has evil moments. I don't think he's purely evil. I don't.
It is, I think, more common, and I'm talking about in real life.
Yeah.
Right? I think it is far more common for either good or just normal, neither good nor bad people to do really bad things than it is for pure evil to exist.
Yeah.
Pure evil, if we think of good and evil on a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Evil is one extreme.
Yeah.
And good is another extreme. When we think of any sort of spectrum, most people lie somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. Totally.
And the people who are on one extreme or another are anomalies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I And I think Tamlin falls somewhere in the middle, depending on where we are in the series, a
Exactly.
little more on one side or the
Yeah,
other,
he kind of
right?
like scoots. He kind
Yeah,
of scoots back and forth. Like,
exactly.
yeah, like this, like, I mean, I would say a good chunk of this book, he's like more towards the good side,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
definitely this book.
I mean, there's red flags that we've already like discussed, but I think I really don't feel like the true monster comes out until after the mountain. Like I just
Yeah,
that's a whole experience.
which again, let's this is not an excuse, but let's not forget he's has some PTSD from that mountain.
Oh,
Like
100%. Absolutely.
he was trapped too. Again, not to excuse it, because
And
BC,
like he thinks Feyre is going to die. He's having
yeah,
to watch her be humiliated. You
yep.
know, like this is all I still think even under the mountain he makes a lot of bad fucking choices.
I mean,
You know what it is? You know what
hmm,
it is? It's pity. I feel
yep,
pity for Tamlin.
yep.
And I got to tell you, guys, gals, and theys, feeling pity for that person who's done you wrong feels really fucking powerful. I just got to say.
It does. It's a I think it's a much better feeling than feeling it's a more palatable feeling than anger,
Anger.
hate.
Yeah.
Those take so much energy. And again, like we've talked about before, like I am such a believer in forgiveness is not always the answer,
Yeah.
because that feels like a lot of the times, not all, but in cases like this, sweeping shit under the rug, and that just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But pity I can live with.
Pity is
Be-
I mean, wow. It's helped me,
Same.
you know?
Same.
So, yeah. All that is to say, this chapter with the fairy is just fucking sad. But, you know,
Yeah.
goddamn, do I just fall in love with Feyre even more. Even when like Tamlin's just like watching her like still sitting there with the
Yeah.
fairy and how like she even says like I I didn't know how long it takes for a soul to leave a body, so I just wanted to stay there. Like,
Ugh,
oh my god, dude. Like I fucking love Feyre in this chapter. Like you can
she's
have
so
issues
good.
with Feyre too in other chapters, but like there
Sure.
is a beauty that happens between these two in this particular chapter that is just oh, so
Well, and
lovely.
it makes chapter 18 feel really, really earned,
Oh
right?
god, it feels
Like,
so
I know.
good. Should we
I
go to the Glen?
know.
Should we do
Let's
it?
go to the
Let's
Glen.
go to the
Okay.
Glen.
First, I want to talk about a quote on page 156. So she's looking at the Glen, right? This is before we get to the Starlight pool. And she says, "It wasn't simply that it was the most beautiful place I'd ever been to." Okay. Now, that phrasing sounds a little familiar. And it sounds a little familiar because of the chapter we're going to get to next week, which is Calanmai, the most beautiful man she's ever seen. So this is the most beautiful place, and then Reese is the most beautiful man, right?
Mhm.
And I find that really, I mean, we know Mama Mass is intentional with her wording of
That's
things, right?
true. She
And
is.
I think this is another moment of intention, right? Where it's like, it's so interesting that we're about to meet Reese, aka the most beautiful man she's ever seen. And instead of viewing Tamlin that way, which I mean, we've had a lot of reasons why she wouldn't think that at this point, prior to this. And I think, as we see, it takes her a while to warm up to Tamlin. But man, she just goes into this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. And I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe it has to do with the horrors of the night before,
Yeah.
Although there is this part of me that's like, does it? Like, if she'd come here the day before the fairy died, she
Would
might
it
have
have
thought the
been?
same thing. Yeah.
I think one of the things I love about Farrah's description of the Glen and everything is like Farrah, I love Farrah's like obsession with like texture,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
she's talking about the grass and like all this stuff and because there's also an element to me of like is this place partially the most beautiful place she's ever seen because she's never really been in this much like green before.
I mean, the way that her village is described, it's
Sounds
just
just
so gnarly.
awful.
Yeah.
Just awful. Yeah, like she talks about like the softness of the grass and like all of that
Yeah.
stuff and how like they actually do bring a blanket, but she doesn't want to sit on it. She wants to sit on the
Yeah.
grass and like feel it. Like I just love Farrah's obsession with like textures and colors and all the things. Like it's
Yes.
so it's so artiste. Like I love it so much. But it is interesting because things are more beautiful when you've seen darkness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it could be the fact that the place was such an experience of beauty and joy,
Yeah.
hard juxtaposed to the night she had before. It's a very interesting thought. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I want to bring up before we get to my main point is so Lucian comes along on this basically date, which I thought was so funny. And I said, it totally feels like a first date in high school where the dude brings his buddy to third wheel it just because, like,
Yeah.
you don't know if this is a date or not.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like you're gonna have your buddy there because it'll feel a little like if she rejects me, then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it wasn't a date to begin with.
Literally, no, that's exactly how it feels. I also wrote Tamlin has no rizz. Like, he just because like Feyre asks him, "What is this place?" He just goes, "Just a glen." And then Lucian laughs and he goes, "Do you like it?"
Yeah.
Like, just
Is it pretty?
yeah, like no rizz whatsoever, which I thought was so funny. And like, look, Lucian in a prior chapter mentioned something about like he hasn't talked to ladies in a
Yeah.
while, so
Yeah.
like I get it, but also I'm like, and you know, also what we find out about Lucian in this chapter about like Lucian, the reason he's Tamlin's emissary is because like he's like so good at talking to people.
Yeah.
Tamlin admits he's like, yeah, I'm not good
Yeah.
at talking to people, and I'm just like, no shit, my guy.
Yeah.
But it does also make you wonder, like, how well, I guess I was gonna say, like, how because he's pretty from what I remember, he's pretty respected by all the other High Lords.
It
Like,
seems that way because I feel like that's one
yeah,
of the things is like they're so shocked when he kind of starts behaving like a
yeah,
toddler
yeah.
in the infamous meeting that we all love
Oh
so
god.
much. Like
Yeah,
I think a lot of them are really surprised that Tamlin
yeah,
is behaving in that way.
yeah. Just no
Well,
Riz.
like his whole like what would make you happy, right?
Yeah,
The like the ringing of bluebells, a ribbon of sunshine, like a garland of moonlight. Like I think what I love is like he very much is like joking, right?
yes,
But it also
yes,
if somehow even though we don't know what Fae flirting like what they say to each other. But
yeah.
doesn't it feel very old-timey like the way he's doing this?
So
Like it
this is a man who plays a fiddle.
yeah, it's
Okay,
true. It's true.
like, come on,
Well, but
like,
I mean, but for her, for the time, fiddle, that
sure,
like
yes,
that feels on brand. But for some reason, this feels even like older than Feyre. This like,
yeah,
what can I bring from the sky down through you, you beautiful lady? Would you like some flour? Like, I don't know. It feels so old timey, even like older
yeah.
than what she is. So it kind of does this funny exposure of like he's this really old Fae.
Well, and what's so funny about that is Reese is older than him.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
how are you like this, Tamlin?
Yeah.
Like, this is no disrespect to anyone who
So excited where this is going.
who's gone through this. It feels like a homeschool kid.
Oh,
You know?
he doesn't
You
have a
know,
lot of exposure.
he hasn't been socialized. We just need to get him socialized.
Socialized.
Take him out, you know, bring some like I think of like a cat that needs to be socialized. You bring your friends over, be like, "Hey, interact with some other humans."
I don't know why this makes me like extra sensy to Tamlin now.
He hasn't had much interaction with people for 50
Well, yeah, for
years.
50 years, yeah. But even before that, I don't know. I feel like when we hear about his upbringing, it's like he's just him with warriors and his
Yeah.
dad. Like it just doesn't. But yeah, this whole like when he's trying to like figure out like what can I do for you?
I know. It's so funny.
It's
And
so
like
funny.
she calls it out.
Oh
She
yeah,
literally says like High Lord of Prithian indeed. High Lord of Foolery was more like
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, damn, Feyre.
Yeah, because also what I love about this whole Glen section too, when like went before Feyre and Tamlin like break off,
Yeah.
is this back and forth between Lucian and Feyre and Tamlin.
Yeah.
All these jokes,
Yeah.
right? He's like, "Oh, do you like it?" And she just goes, "Yes." And he's like, "That's it?" She's like, "Would you like me to grovel with gratitude for bringing me here,
Yeah.
High Lord?" Tamlin's like, "Oh, the cereal told you nothing important, huh?" And like they're like getting these
Yeah.
little things out. And then she says, "He also said that you like being brushed, and if I'm a clever girl, I might train you with treats."
So good.
I love
So
it
good.
so much. And also, actually, this next line was actually almost my sound moment.
Mm.
Tamlin tipped his head to the sky and roared with laughter. Despite myself, I let out a soft laugh.
Yeah.
And like, I think hasn't someone in the point of this book already asked her if she like laughs ever or
Yes.
yeah.
I think Lucian did.
Yeah, so the fact that this little moment happens is actually like a really big deal. Because first of all,
Yeah.
for someone to tip their head back and roar with laughter, that is a unabandoned, letting yourself free, just freaking go.
Yes.
You know, if you're watching the YouTube channel, you've already seen Ariel and I do it a plethora
Oh,
of
many
times. But
times.
then her like soft laugh,
I know.
it's actually very sweet. And
It
this sort of
is.
first moment, and then Lucian being sassafras, I might die of surprise. You made a joke.
I
Like
know.
just this little like trio. It's so cute. It honestly
It's
gives
so
me a moment
cute.
of like sadness of like what could have been. If they got to
Yeah.
stay, the world of potentially maybe them being like friends. Like it's
Yes.
just,
It is a little
how
sad.
beautiful that little trifecta. You
You
know
know
what
what
I
it
mean?
feels like? It feels like a different universe version. Like the joke she makes right then feels very Bryce Quinlan.
Yes,
And
1,000%
like
feels very Bryce.
making that joke to Hunt and like Lucian is like either Therian or like Ethan or someone. You know what I
I
mean?
feel like he'd be
Like,
Therian.
yeah, he would be Therian.
Yeah.
Okay. Now on to the main point. The Starlight pool. On page 159, Feyre says, like, it looks like Starlight. And Tamlin says, it is Starlight. So he's saying this is literal Starlight, right? And then Feyre asks, how is that possible? Yeah, you're realizing what I realized. And Tamlin says, I don't know. I never asked, and no one ever explained.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
Say it. Say it.
So do we remember what the stars from Starfall are made out of?
Oh my God.
Human fucking souls.
Oh
Or
my
fae
God.
fucking souls. So they're swimming in a pool of dead souls, I think. Yeah.
Wait. Is it actually parts of human souls that is
Yeah.
Starlight?
Yeah, because
Wait,
there's a part in
then why would they think it was so funny when their faces get splattered with it?
I don't know, and that part has always grossed me out because of it, honestly. But there's a part I think in Mist and Fury, maybe Akawar, where but no, I think it's Mist and Fury after I want to say it's after Reese tells her the whole story of what happened. He tells her about like his mom and sister, and Feyre says something about like maybe it was them on that starfall that like brought us together. Like they were passing
Yeah, yeah,
through on
yeah.
that night. It's human fucking or fae fucking souls. So,
I'm literally
yeah.
like looking it up because I
Feel
like
like I must know.
don't want you to be right. You know what I mean? It's one of those
I
moments.
don't wanna be right.
They're described as spirits on a yearly migration.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're swimming in a pool of ghosts. Ghost pool. And then, on 161, Feyre goes, "What would happen if I were to drink the water?" And I just wrote, "No." Although, okay, question,
Yeah.
would you get possessed?
I I don't know, dude. I'm still reeling from this whole fucking them swimming in.
I have so many questions for Sarah J. Maas. Like, was this a thing that like she thought of? Was this an accident? Like, did she like write this, then write the Starfall scene later in Mist and Fury, forget about this scene, and
Right.
then it was like, oh, oops, oh no,
Right.
we're just not gonna talk
We're
about
just not
it.
gonna, well, I mean, like, I mean, we've talked about, like, I feel like she rarely does things, like, unintentionally, but
Yeah.
this does feel kind of like this feels like this could be one of those that was easily like, "Oh, it's Starlight.
Yeah.
It's been collected. It's pretty." But, yeah, this whole idea of, like, basically them being collected so you can, like, swim in it
Yeah.
feels kind of on brand for his dad, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
We don't know how it got made.
or, like, maybe it's just a hole that they all
Yeah.
fell in.
That's kind of what I was thinking. And
That
like,
feels better,
oh,
Corinne. My God, way to go for the darkness, Corinne. Jesus fucking
if
Christ.
we get a Tamlin redemption book, right? Maybe we can have a cool scene where he goes into the Starlight Pole and like realizes it's like all these fucking souls from the
Sets him
past
free.
and they like they give him messages about like all the wrong he's done and shit. He has this big epiphany, right?
Oh.
Oh, it could be like when Nesta finds the mask
Yeah.
in the fucking
In the
swamp,
swamp.
but like, and you think it's gonna be some beautiful scene, then it gets really fucking
And it
dark,
gets
you
really dark.
know?
Yeah. That could be
Oh, I
cool.
want it. But yeah, this was this was an unfortunate realization.
Well, see, it's interesting that you say this too,
Yeah.
because any
Oh
of
my
my Howl's Moving Castle friends,
yeah.
this scene feels very familiar to
Yeah.
Howl's Moving Castle, which I meant to bring up in the non-spoiler episode, but hey, Sturdial Squad's just for you, baby cakes. So, yeah, this feels a lot like the scene where he brings Sophie to basically his glen.
Right.
Like, it's a big meadow of beautiful flowers and fields, and there are all these pools. And
Yeah.
it used to be where he would study as like a young wizard. But it's
Mm.
also where House Living Castle, spoiler, little bits of shooting stars used to fall. And it's
Yeah.
where he catches Calcifer and gives Calcifer his
Yeah.
heart. Spoiler
Yeah.
for House Living Castle. But he gives his heart to Calcifer because Calcifer is a fire demon,
Yes.
right? Which when fire demons are free, they look like stars.
Oh,
So this is, do you see what, like, this is very similar to this concept of that the starlight is souls and all this stuff. Because even in the movie,
yes.
when you see, you get a flashback of Hal as a young boy, and you see this whole process happen. And when you see all the stars fall, when they hit the ground, they look like little humanoid creatures kind of running, and then they kind of like
Yeah.
dissipate. And that's kind
Yeah.
of like the demon sort of, or the soul, whatever have you.
Yeah.
And so like this whole scene to me is like hardcore Howl's Moving Castle, that entire scene, because Howl is giving the Glen to Sophie because
Right.
Howl thinks something bad might happen to him. If you guys haven't seen Howl's Moving Castle, you absolutely should. And I'm going to throw myself into the fire here, but do the dubbed version
Yeah. Yeah.
because Christian Bale, Billy Crystal is
Yeah.
Calcifer. Anyway, do yourselves a favor, watch it because this scene is so hardcore.
And this is now the second time you've brought up Howl's Moving Castle, which
Yep.
makes me think
I know.
she's seen that movie and was inspired by it. And well, and I mean
Or
also
read the
like,
book because it is based off a book.
oh, it is. Yeah, it's a fairy tale.
It is. Ah. Ha, ha, ha,
Ah.
ha.
So I'm wondering, because also like stars being souls is not like a new
No,
concept. Like
no.
there's many cultures where that is a thing.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think it's crazy to say.
I don't think it's crazy to say either. But yeah, I have not thought of the pool being like, that's a pretty gnarly. Well, I mean, honestly, it kind of goes also into this whole thing of where like Tamlin, I just feel like he's so uneducated of things that aren't high fae.
Yeah, he's not of the people.
He's not of the people. He does not learn.
As we see in the tithing scene for sure.
Yeah. But I gotta say, the whole Lucian story just really, it's another moment where you're like, Tamlin,
Yeah.
brother, holy shit,
Yeah.
dude. Way to be there for your homie.
No, for real. And it's God, that story. I always forget how fucking heartbreaking it
It's
is.
so brutal, dude. When Sarah J. Maas makes people bad, she makes them bad.
Yeah.
And I think
and
that's
Baron is
also
bad.
why our discussion about Tamlin is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't make him 100%.
You know who she also doesn't? And I'm just gonna state it now. We don't have to get
Eris.
into it. Eris.
She doesn't make Eris
because-
100% bad.
And actually, one thing I noticed
We
this
want to
chapter
hate
because
him.
we want to hate him, but we can't. There's also some great theories about Eris and Az getting together, and I really
Oh,
want
I
that to
love, I
fucking
know.
happen.
I've seen
I
some of those and
love
I'm
it.
kind of here for it. I think it's really
I'm so here for it. But one thing I'll say about Eris is, and I always, because like I was reading this chapter, I was actually talking to David like while reading this chapter, because like we get to the part where Tamlin's explaining Lucian's backstory and says like 3 of his brothers chased him down, only 1 came back, and I was like, wait. I don't really remember, like, huh? I remember him having more brothers on the mountain than I reread. I'm like, oh, he has 7 brothers, so
Yeah.
only 3 went, 4 didn't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think Eris was one of the brothers who went to hunt him down.
No.
Yeah, I never
don't think
really
so.
got that vibe. Yeah.
Or is he the one who returns?
Oh, maybe he is.
I don't
See,
know,
now
dude.
I'm trying to remember because
Genuinely
I feel
don't
like
know.
I feel like he's one of the ones who hunts them down in Mist and Fury when him and Feyre are leaving the Spring Court.
Oh, yeah.
And
He
that's how we get
100% is
introduced
one
to
of
him.
them there.
Yeah, so maybe that's what we're thinking of, but I don't know why. I feel like he's, and hey, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I feel like he wasn't one of the ones who
Also,
hunted him down.
he's the youngest of 7.
Of
So does that mean
7.
he has 6 brothers?
Yes. So
Right?
2
So
die,
6 brothers,
leaving
2
4.
die.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Ooh, we have some autumn court girlies screaming at us right now. Hopefully we'll figure it out because I feel like
Although,
I feel like this
now
spoiler
that,
episode is a lot of us being like, is
huh.
this?
I do on this topic, because we said we talk about it in this episode. We gotta talk about how Mama Autumn had so many babies.
Okay.
How?
So many babies.
How?
And like, I'm so glad you brought that up in the spoiler free episode, because it literally made me be like, yeah, wait. Because we just did the episode with Alice,
who just explained this.
Who just explained that high fae, it's harder for them, right? It's harder for them to give birth. And this fucking lady
just
has
conceive.
7. I mean, one of them is Helian's.
Yes. But still, even just to conceive, because like in theory, it works kind of both. Like the woman would probably have, like, I don't know how fucking Fae anatomy with their eggs and shit works, but I would think, well, oh no, we do. We actually kind of do, because Sarah J. Maas loves to talk about periods in all of her books.
That's true.
And female Fae, at least the high Fae, only get their periods like twice a year.
Yeah, and they hurt really badly because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because when the girls are turned Fae, they're like, I like the infrequency, but like, fuck.
It's a horror show.
Yeah.
Do we know for a fact that Mama Autumn is a high Fae? And the reason I bring this up,
if you aren't watching the YouTube channel, Ariel and I just gave each other like, if you've ever seen Shrek, there's like a moment where Donkey and Shrek, you know what I'm talking, you know what part I'm talking about, girl. I don't remember what she says, but they give each other this face of like,
Okay, because here's my little theory. If Mama Autumn, if she is not high Fae, right? Because she could be glamored. I'm sure Baron could glamour her to look like high Fae. What if that is the reason he is so adamant that Lucian does not marry, quote unquote, beneath him, right? Because he knows that he has married someone who is not high Fae, and it's like a whole projection thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He needs someone to have a high Fae, yeah.
And also, we still don't know if Baron knows that Lucian is not his son.
No, he still doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he suspects. I do think he suspects.
Do you?
I think that's why he treats Lucian different than the rest.
Well, I mean, I assumed he treated Lucian different than the rest just because Lucian was different.
But for what reason?
Yeah.
Because he's not his
son.
Well,
it's actually really funny when you think about the fact that like Lucian is this guy who goes around and makes friends with people everywhere. Like,
it's so
Helian.
Yeah.
Helian just like fucks everybody too. But you know.
Yeah. Hey, maybe Lucian does.
Actually, Lucian might have
don't know what
so
he does
too.
on Calamai.
We have no idea. But yeah, I mean, it is I love thinking about the fact that his dad is actually Helian like more as you like really get to know Lucian, because you're just like, so oh my God, yeah, no wonder he's the social butterfly, he's the emissary.
You have long flowing hair.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's super fun to watch with Helian. When you see him in the meeting or the meetings with people, and then you see him behind closed doors with Rizz and all of them, there's these two different characters. He knows how to play the part, and he knows how to be this one way, which is like very emissary coded in my mind, like very like bureaucratic. You understand how to play the game. And so it's just it's so fun when you like are reading these other things and you're like, oh yeah, you're Helian's son for sure. Well, and they actually do talk about when we meet Lucian's family, how Lucian is much more like golden skinned than his brothers are. Yeah. Which Helian. But okay, so I did look up, it's very interesting. There is actually already discussions about if Lucian's mom is high Fae or not. Because there's nothing that actually contains descriptions about her Fae type.
There you go.
Which is very interesting.
Because there's just no way a high Fae woman would be able to conceive and successfully deliver 7 fucking like kids. And they're also all boys.
Here we go. So yeah, there's different kinds of fae. Some age like humans and can breed often.
Mhm.
Some, Alice, high fae, are barely able to produce.
Yeah. It seems to just be the high fae that cannot produce a ton.
7. Yeah, that is
That's
an
a lot.
interesting hole I feel that I have never
Yeah.
realized, which feels purposeful.
Yes. I mean, 7 is a lot for a human
7's a lot for a
woman,
human.
let alone a high fae.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Which makes me
I
feel
think
like
again
she can't be
this
high fae then.
she can't be.
Like, there's no way.
Like the improbability is just astronomical. Like I'm sure it's technically possible. I think it would have to be her because like the other option is Baron's not, right? But I think it would have to be her
I think it would have
because
to be her because Baron, it's like
yeah,
we're dealing with like a lineage situation, I think. I feel
right.
like with Baron. So
And then also, yeah, she cheats with Helion, which like also, I mean, one thing I never thought about was like, are all of those boys, not just Lucian, are the other 6 Barons?
yeah, I feel like if they're not Helions because they talk
No,
about just because of the
no,
skin tone color.
yeah,
But I also feel like they are Barons
yeah, probably,
because at least I'm kind of led to believe that she actually is truly in love with Helion.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
why, like, in that it's not just a frivolous affair.
No, because like there's the story Helion tells
Yeah.
in Akawar
Yeah.
where like, yeah, they were in love, and like she didn't like Baron, maybe not kidnap, but like kind of close to kidnap her in like when she was like a teenager or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
that's the other
Yeah,
reason why I wanted to look up her thing about because I was like, there's a
yeah,
weird story that Helion tells where we get more
right.
information about her. And it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, like she was taken when she was young. And that there was kind of a thing where like there actually was some love there, I think, between her and
yeah.
Baron, like in the beginning.
Yes, and then he was like such a brute.
And then it gets bad, like physically bad, like
Yeah,
abusive. And
yes.
then she
And she
somehow
runs to
meets
Helion.
Helion.
I think she like seeks sanctuary with Helion or something like that.
Okay. I can't wait till we get to that portion because I don't
I
fully
know.
like remember how that happens.
It
Mm.
almost feels a little bit like more, but like the opposite
Yeah.
in a weird way.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why they kind of mirror each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really interesting. I know we brought up Eris. There's some really interesting theories about Eris and why he did what he did to Moore.
Which, I feel like we still have so many questions about like what this like big thing where he's like, ask more what I did or like whatever.
Yeah.
But I still stand by the thing of that. Like, I think it is purely just that he knew it was going to be better for her to be taken back by Reese and her friends and not be in the bottom
Yes.
court. Like, I just think that's all it is. I mean, it's a big deal still, but
There's something with specifically him not touching her though. And I've seen some stuff. I don't remember
yeah.
quite what, but like there's something about like it's almost like a marking territory
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
All this to say,
All this to say.
I feel Tamlin and Eris are like on a very similar like end of the spectrum in terms of good and evil,
Yeah.
you know?
But yeah, this whole thing about, us learning about Lucian more, it just makes his drinking sadder to me. Also
Yeah.
makes sense why he runs away during the whole faerie thing. That has to be extremely traumatic. It's really funny. I ended up making a joke about how this pool was like the pool of sharing.
Oh
Because
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
before they go in, we get this story about Lucian.
Yeah.
And then once we're in the pool, we learn about Feyre and how they lose all their money.
Yeah.
Which like fucking Papa Archeron.
Papa.
Just like it's almost more annoying now that he brings ships.
Yep. Yep. No, because I forgot it was 3 ships. Like, I totally forgot it was 3 ships. And it just I think his intentions were good. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Of like clearing his family's debt.
Yes.
This is where intention versus actions comes up,
Yes.
right? Of like the intentions were good, the actions were not. And yeah, man. And
Just like Tamlin.
Just like Tamlin. And it's, he literally cuts corners.
Literally.
Literally. And that is the theme of Papa Archeron is he cuts corners.
He does.
Right? He even like when trying to do the right thing and make up everything to his daughters, instead of just like, I don't know, being there for them, he does this grand gesture, brings them 3 ships named after them, and then immediately fucking dies.
Well, okay.
I know that's not
The
his
one thing we
fault,
do have
but
to give him is that these ships are carrying soldiers, right? And so it
yes,
actually
yes,
does help distract, and it does help them be
yes.
able to, like,
I'm
right?
I'm talking more cutting emotional
Yes, the
uh
emotional corners.
amends
Yes,
corners.
absolutely. Well, that's
Yes.
why Nesta's so pissed at him. That's why Nesta
Yeah.
has such issues after his death of like, okay, cool.
Yep.
What? Like, and why
Yeah.
she, like, she doesn't even know how to process, like, yeah, anyway, I know we already went through all of that. So, but yeah, it's just it's a harsh reminder, I think. Also, like, I forgot that it's like a dynasty debt situation.
I did not at all remember, yeah,
Yeah.
that it's first off, not just a dynasty debt, but like, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's a dynasty. Like his father and his father's father was called the Prince of
Well,
Merchants.
that's what I
Like,
mean, that it's like this has been
yeah,
passed down, and also that, like, they were rich, but it was all for show, like, it wasn't
yeah,
actually truly money they had. It was
yes.
purely to, like,
Which,
keep up appearances, which is extra terrifying.
well, if you think about it, like that is very much, I feel, a commentary on rich people today. Like most
Mhm.
people who are rich, quote unquote, it's all in
Yeah,
assets.
it's
None of
not
it's
actually
liquid.
yeah, it's not actually, like, money that they, like, could use.
Listeners, if you've read other Sarah J. Maas books, you'll know. If you haven't, just know I think she has a lot of feelings about father figures.
Yep.
Mother too, but I
Mother
think more so
too,
father figures.
hard lean on father figures, for
I don't think
sure.
any of the father figures except for Bryce's stepdad
Yep,
in Crescent City.
yep.
None of the other father figures really are.
Great. But I guess you could, a lot of the patriarchy stuff has to deal with a fair amount of manipulation of females, of how women are been trained, of
Yeah.
how we're supposed to navigate, how we're supposed to feel about things.
Yeah.
We have been manipulated to behave in a particular way. We've been manipulated and brought up in a way to think that we should be apologizing all the time for just
Yeah.
existing. So,
Yeah. Even I would say some of the best of fathers, right? Like, you know,
yeah.
it still happens accidentally.
So yeah, this whole the merchant. I mean, like, I'm glad we get the story. And also it's interesting
Yeah.
cuz we finally get ages of when everything
Yeah.
happens, right? So
Yeah.
we get she was 11 when they had to
Mhm.
move, and she was 14 when she started
Trying to
hunting.
hunt. Yeah.
Finally
Little
get the
Katniss
ages.
Everdeen.
Little Katniss Everdeen going out there with her little braid, shooting
Right.
arrows.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more depth
Yeah.
to these characters and in the form of backstory,
Yeah.
which it is interesting how it kind of all happens within kind of
Like,
1 to 2
yeah,
chapters.
it's like 1 to 2 chapters all of a sudden we're getting, like, I mean, it feels like that halfway point in a book
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
kinda like, "Okay, here's these people you've been with for a while. Let me give you some more info,"
And then
you know,
everything's gonna fucking
and everything's gonna fucking change,
change
and,
up.
like, honestly, I love this whole swimming moment with Tam and Feyre.
You know what it feels like?
What?
It feels like the meadow scene in Twilight.
Yes, it does, but sexual.
I mean, I guess when we were teenagers, that was pretty fucking sexual.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It was. No, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So, like, this is now our adult version. Right, like,
Exactly.
I love, like, it's spicy, and it's funny because
It's
it's not much really happens,
no.
right? But I think we talked about it a lot in the spoil-free episode, so I won't,
Yeah.
like, repeat
Yeah.
too much of that, but more just, like, she's looking at him as a sexual creature. Like, it's no
Yeah.
longer, which, like, we absolutely said, but I think, like, to be really concise about it, it's like she's finally viewing him, like, as a male. He's
Yes.
not this captor, this
Brute.
brute. She's appreciating, and she's like she's appreciating his body, and she's being wildly observant.
That fine ass. Oh yeah.
Like, cuz even when he first asked her if she thinks if the glen is nice or whatever, she's literally, like, lost in how the light is, like, hitting him and his
Yeah.
eyes and, like, all this stuff. Like, I really feel, and I also said this in the spoil-free portion, of how, like, she is lighter because all these things have been taken off of her shoulders, and I think
Yes.
Tamlin taking her to this place. She's becoming freer, as we see the way she talks to everybody.
Yeah.
But like, it also shows in how her little painter appreciative of beauty and colors and things is like coming out in full fucking force. And she's
Yeah.
using it to check out Tamlin. Like, it's so good.
She's like, no, I'm just appreciating art. Like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
it's just really pretty here. It's really beautiful around here.
So pretty.
Not the way that like, she even appreciates the way like his mask looks in the sun. Like,
Yeah.
she is checking him out. And then him doing the roving eye thing is just like, why does every fucking girl want
Oh
that?
my God.
Like,
I know,
ever.
right?
It's like a dream. Yeah.
It's so funny because like as someone who like I think we've talked about this. I'm someone who like I want to be seen, but I also don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
It's both my dream and my nightmare
Yes.
simultaneously. Sometimes I'm like, look at me, but don't look at me.
No,
Like
100%. I
and
actually
I feel like that's gonna hurt.
Yes. No, absolutely. That's a lot where her like embarrassment comes from. It's a lot of where she's just like, no, I'm not
Like,
gonna let him
what are
fucking
you doing?
you know what? Yeah, exactly. Like, stop. Yeah, no, 100%. I actually think that there are more humans like this than we all admit.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I mean, I do believe that there are people who are like, they're exhibitionists and like that's their fucking thing, and like, which
God
honestly, all
bless.
fucking power to. Like, wow,
The bravery.
I think I love it. I think that's so
Yeah.
dope. Like, oh God, just let me give you all your flowers. That's so
Truly.
cool. I am not that person. Like,
No,
yeah,
same.
I'm the same. Like, I've been with Jeff for 11 years, and like,
Yeah.
I still get butterflies and nervous, and you know what I mean. And it's
Yeah.
like, and this is like a really incredible partnership that Jeff and I have. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's nothing for me to be. So it's just it's wild how we can get there. But so I love this moment just because it's so. We all know the feeling and like the excitement.
Yeah.
It still feels like what you have said almost every time of like high school crushy.
Yeah.
It feels like the first time you go swimming with your crush.
Yeah. Oh my God. They see you like in your little bathing suit.
And they
and
see
you're
you in
just
your
like,
bathing suit. And then they actually have like, when they have like a positive I mean, I have to admit, I wish it was always this obvious.
I know.
Like Sarah J.
Right?
Maas makes it very obvious that he is enjoying what he's seeing.
Yes.
And it's like, I wish that was a far more obvious thing in people's eyes.
Do you know how much easier high school would have been for me?
Bro.
Like, the amount of times I'm like, do you like me? And now, even though in hindsight, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's not just
at
the
the
do
time,
you like me? It's the like, am I attractive? Do you find me
Yeah.
attractive?
yes.
You know, which like, I don't know if I need an obvious thing of when someone doesn't find me attractive.
Oh, yeah.
I just
no.
wish in high school you knew that it was this obvious when someone found you attractive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things I think we all love about our book boyfriends and our like romantic-y paramours
Yeah.
is that they're written in such a way that you normally always know that they're attracted to the female main character or or whoever the male main character is. It's more that you don't know if they actually like each other.
Right.
You always know they're attracted.
You
And
know
so-
they horny.
Yeah. And so like honestly kind of wish that that was a bit more obvious in real life. You know?
Yep.
For our
Yep.
sweet, sweet teenage selves when you and I were both single and, you know, bright-eyed.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I think that's why this moment is extra fun. Because
Yeah.
also we actually don't end up getting a lot of super awesome sexy time stuff with Tam and Feyre.
We get like one good
We
sex
get
scene
one
in this
and
book.
it's actually not even that good.
It's not that spicy.
But we get one and so I'm kind of in this weird space now where I'm kind of like, you know what, I'm just gonna like enjoy like the cute moments these two actually get before Tamlin just ruins everything.
Yeah. And maybe that's I think that's why this feels very high school, right?
Yes.
Like you get the one like great moment, whether it's sex or otherwise, you know, with that person. And then not gonna lie, most high school relationships fizzle out after that, I feel.
Yep. But anywho, yes, it feels very high school. It feels and I think maybe that's why you and I are almost able to like appreciate these little moments right now. Is like we're viewing it as high school because we know her like kind of like you and I are high school. We had funny relationships that, you know, were important.
Yeah.
But the big love is later. And I think that's why we're almost able to like separate this.
Yeah. Tamlin was the practice.
Yeah.
Right? And I think this is very real for a lot of people, right?
Ugh.
Of like,
Yeah.
and how do I put this? There is a purpose in the practice
Oh,
perfect.
100%. Extremely important. Absolutely. I feel like it would be even harder for her to accept Reese as her mate if she
Absolutely.
hadn't had a love story before him.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine Feyre Archeron
Excuse
just
me.
waltzing into Prithian, meeting Reese right away, and being like, "Oh, you're the love of my life"? Like, no,
No.
no,
Because
she
she
would have
even
rejected him.
yeah, because she even has moments with Tamlin being like,
Yeah,
"This is, like, the first kind of true love I've ever had, like, is this" like, she like, it kinda, like, weirds her out, like, she's aware of it.
yeah.
And, like, yeah, could you imagine? No,
Oh
she
my
needed
god,
this
no,
process with Tamlin to happen. Well, everyone did,
absolutely.
all of Prithian did. We've also know
Yes.
this. But I'm just so excited because, like, the ending of this chapter with Lucian's super cute with the
Yeah.
knife and all that jazz, but, like, I'm just so excited that we're about to get into Cal and Mai. Like, I just can't believe we're here.
Oh my god. I am like mentally preparing
Bro,
for myself to go feral. Like it's our boy is coming.
he's coming. And
Ugh.
what's so I'm now so annoyed that we're ending, like, right when we meet him.
I mean,
Did you guys hear that cackle that just came out of her? That's
have I not?
that's
This is proof
fucking
I'm the surreal.
that's pure, you guys. That's real. This
Like not playing.
you see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Everyone thinks she's just this sweet little girl. Nah, dude.
Looks are deceiving.
She's fucking, like, lightweight evil, and I love it. Wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, there she is.
On that
On
note,
that note, that's a perfect way to end.
perfect way to end it. All right, so next week's chapters are 19 through 20. Like we said, we're going to be going to Cal and Mai. If you will, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and or YouTube. It really, really does help.
Yeah.
As we said in the last episode, you know, if you have friends who love ACOTAR, bring them along on the journey with you. If you're trying to get your friends into ACOTAR, perfect way to do it. They can listen to the spoiler-free episodes, and then when they finish, they can come back and join the Surreal Squad.
Yeah, or just, like, you and your gals are all talking about ACOTAR, and you going on a road trip, and you're like, "Oh my god, I got something for us."
There you go. If you want to watch some silly ACOTAR content from us, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cauldron Save Us Pod. And then if you want to pop in and say hi, maybe give a little suggestion, you can email us at cauldronsaveus@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Cal and Mai.
Calamari! I love you
I
so
love
much.
you. Well, on that note.
On that note, well, kids, you're welcome.
And we're sorry. Bye.
Bye.